DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin. It's great to see you, Secretary. What do you make of people saying the ICE agent in Minneapolis should have shot the tires in that car instead of shooting her?
It was a split-second decision, Liz. He followed his training. He was in fear of his own life. He was in fear of law enforcement lives around him. And I think that the American people now have this new footage that they can see and judge for themselves. It really corroborates what DHS and our law enforcement on the ground have said all along, that these individuals were following and stalking our law enforcement throughout the day. They were harassing them, and at the time of this incident, they were blocking in our law enforcement, impeding lawful operations. Our law enforcement were outside of their vehicle, approached these individuals, approached the individual in question, told her to exit her vehicle, to stop obstructing law enforcement. And that's when she wouldn't obey commands. She then guns the car and puts her foot on the gas. And that's when our law enforcement officer follows his training to save his own life and those around him. Unfortunately, if you don't obey by law enforcement's commands, if you weaponize your vehicle, which we saw this individual do in an attempt to hit our law enforcement, there are dangerous and, in this case, deadly consequences, Liz.
Okay, we want to move on to this. Listen to Border Czar Tom Homan on what ICE is dealing with in the streets of America. And then you're going to listen to Joe Biden agreeing that sanctuary cities are bad. Watch this.
ICE is doing everything they can to enforce the laws enacted by Congress. I just said the vast majority of everybody arrested in our public safety threats will make this country safe. I want people to remember this. ICE agents, border patrons, are mothers and fathers too. Sex trafficking has plummeted. The Trump administration has already found over 129,000 children that the last administration lost track of and wasn't even looking for. And we're not going to stop till we find every one of these 300,000 missing children.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
No. And Joe Biden at that time in 2007 was likely referring to Philadelphia. He was slamming Philadelphia for becoming a sanctuary city. Okay. More than 662,500 criminal illegal aliens charged with crimes or convicted of them were let into the U.S. over the last 4 decades. Secretary, we're talking murder, manslaughter, rape, child predators, home invasions, robbery, sex and drug trafficking, kidnapping, child cruelty, domestic abuse, and more. How come the media and Democrats are not talking about this? How come they treat American citizens like rounding errors and, just statistics? Because Democrats like Eric Swalwell, they're trying to introduce a bill to strip federal officers of their immunity protections against charges and lawsuits.
Well, because it's an inconvenient truth for them, Liz. And that doesn't even include, that's just charges and convictions within the United States of America. That doesn't even include those who are human rights abusers, known or suspected terrorists, gang members, have Interpol notices, or are wanted for crimes, including murder, in their country of origin or a third country. So we're not even including all of the public safety threats that we're dealing with. When Secretary Noem was on the ground in Minneapolis just a couple of days ago, she was part of the arrest of an individual from Ecuador. He was wanted in Ecuador for murder. He would not be included in these statistics, so it's even worse than it looks, and that's why we, of course, want to work with these sanctuary city politicians, and they're really barring us from doing so. We want to go into their jails, so when these individuals are held, when they're charged or they're convicted, they will eventually be turned over to us. But instead, what's happening in Minneapolis, New York, Los Angeles, and these other cities around the country is that they're being released back onto the streets so they can re-perpetuate their crimes.
It's really something. Thank you so very much, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin.